The Baby Gas team taking on the Argonauts. The Baby Gas team just cannot seem to catch a break. That Patriots coach just continues to disappoint when the BGT really needs them. Of course, a lot of the loss last week can be pointed to the fact that the BGT left Dalvin Cook in their lineup, and he was ruled out of that matchup. That probably cost them the matchup, being that they ended up losing by about 25. So the Patriots coach loss, coupled with the Dalvin Cook play, really set the BGT back. But it looks like Cook should be back in the lineup this week to help the BGT out. And I think that he's going to have a tough time running against that Rams defense, because it's not like Cook has gotten loose all season yet anyway. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's able to do against that Rams front tomorrow night. Melvin Gordon against the 49ers. Melvin Gordon and Phillip Rivers, that's going to be the interesting dichotomy in this matchup. Whoever ends up getting the lion's share will probably swing the matchup in the direction of that team. Matt Ryan had, I believe, almost 50-point effort last week against the New Orleans Saints. He had 44 points, and he's going to get the start for the Baby Gas team, and he should. I mean, he's been on fire. He's playing very, very well. But even on that side of it, Julio Jones for the Argo is sitting there to, steal some points from Ryan. So this matchup is very intricate. Both teams seem to have players on each side that are dependent upon players on the other side. So it's going to make this matchup very interesting. T.Y. Hilton, it just seems like Andrew Luck doesn't have the confidence in his arm to let it go deep yet accurately. And I think the Colts are kind of playing their game plan planning their game plan basically around the fact that they don't trust Luck's arm 100% yet, and that's had an effect on T.Y. T.Y. is a guy who can stretch the field. He's done pretty well underneath so far this season, but I believe that this is a guy that if you're able to stretch the field, he's one of the best big play threats in pro football. So that's really a big hurt for T.Y. With Luck's struggles. But if they're able to finally get things together, T.Y. Hilton is a huge, huge threat. On the Argonaut side, James Conner and Ezekiel Elliott both were serviceable, but they aren't giving you what the Argonauts have given in past years as far as running back production with Le'Veon Bell and Elliott in place. It's typically, these guys are good for about 20 points a game, but it looks like it's going to be an effort to even get there. On the other side, Devontae Adams continues to be a pretty good addition for the Argonauts, being that he's consistently scoring touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers throws a touchdown, there's a pretty good shot that Adams is on the other end of it. Other plays, the Green Bay coach killed the Argo last week. I believe that was probably the biggest decider in that matchup, along with the fact that Carson Wentz just didn't appear ready to go from a points perspective. Although he looked poised, he looked confident, and he looked strong from a reality perspective, from a fantasy perspective. What he gave just wasn't enough for the Argo, and looks like they're going to go back with Phillip Rivers, which probably isn't a bad call. George Kittle losing Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know how big that really is for Kittle, because Kittle's college quarterback, C.J. Beathard, is actually the new quarterback for the 49ers. So those two guys already have a rapport. So I don't think Kittle is going to have much of a drop in production. That being said, this matchup sets up as a pretty lopsided one. It looks like the Argonauts they're opening as one of the bigger favorites this weekend. I don't see why. I think that the BGT has players on their side that could score big-time points and keep up with the Argo, especially with Demaryius Thomas on Monday night. That being said, the Argonauts do win this matchup 130 to 120. I think that it's going to be a close one, but the Argonauts will squeak it out somehow. Moving on to the Prestige matchup of the week. It's an interconference matchup in the Prestige matchup of the week. We have Patty's Twins taking on the Mean Machine. Alrighty, ladies and gents, this one really sets up as a exciting, potentially high-scoring matchup between two teams who are, of the PPL's blue bloods, basically. The Twins and the Mean Machine are some of the highest scoring teams and most dangerous teams in the league. And when you look at their receivers, you see why. Odell Beckham against Antonio Brown is the stuff that, football is made of. These are two of the absolutely most exciting players, not just receivers, but players at any position in pro football. Beckham and Brown are guys that can score from anywhere on the field. And that's why this matchup is so intriguing, because it's probably the toughest to pick, and that's what you want in the Prestige matchup of the week. Looking at the other positions, the Mean Machine's strength at running back is becoming more and more apparent, especially with Alvin Kamara. He's a guy that just he's Le'Veon Bell light, being that he's going to get his catches and he's going to get his rushes. Of course, it'll slow down a little bit with Mark Ingram coming back into the lineup in week 5, but this is the last week that Kamara has the backfield to himself, and I expect him to do pretty big things. Baker Mayfield is another guy who the machine looks like he's going to give a shot, and I can see exactly why. Mayfield brings some excitement to the stadium, and he's also a player who has the potential to really blow up. Michael Thomas, of course, is a huge-time play, and the Saint players are guys that the machine can readily depend on. And I am intrigued by the John Brown play. I like that play a lot. I think the Baltimore likes to stretch the field, especially with Joe Flacco's arm, and John Brown's a guy that can do that. O.J. Howard was a nice pickup. He had a pretty solid game on Monday night, and with Fitzpatrick in the lineup, I think he's going to continue to ascend. I thought that was a great pickup by the Mean Machine. On the Twins side, Aaron Rodgers, he's getting further and further away from the initial injury, so hopefully he's starting to heal up and get better, although they said that injury is going to probably follow him for a few more weeks. But with Buffalo coming to town, despite how they played against the Vikings were completely overlooking the Bills. I don't expect Green Bay to do the same. I think Rodgers plays huge in that matchup from the pocket. David Johnson, I think he can have success. I think that the Cowboys ran the ball pretty well against Seattle. It's just that Elliott didn't hang on to the ball, and that was costly. I think Johnson can do a better job, and I think Tevin Coleman, if he's getting enough of the carries, he should have a big game. Now, if Freeman is cleared to come back, obviously Coleman's role changes in that offense. Keenan Allen has to bounce back, and that San Francisco secondary, is going to be very inviting to Keenan Allen. They're gonna allow him to get back on track. And Kenny Golladay is also another good play for the Twins. That being said, this matchup is setting up as one that is a colossal clash. It looks like neither team is rolling with a coach this week, so they're going back to old school fantasy play. It should be very, very close, but the Mean Machine is the stronger team, and the stronger team should win. I've got the Mean Machine winning this matchup 124 to 116. So the Mean Machine shines in the prestige matchup of the week, defeating the Twins. And everyone, good luck. Get ready for week 4 action, and may the odds be ever in your favor.